right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll call this meeting to order. Sorry, we were a little delayed. We had some technical issues here in council chambers with technology. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the June 16th, 2020 regular council meeting be adopted as amended? Councillor Chouinard will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please? The minutes of the May 19th, 2020 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. Councillor Wilkinson will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We have no public hearings, no delegations tonight. Can I get a motion, please? The council give first reading to bylaw number 2247 to repeal bylaw 2202, known as the Anderson Area Structure Plan as described in the agenda. Councillor Curry will make that motion. And I believe we have planning that is here to present to us on this matter. Go ahead, Mr. Verhage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just make sure I have the correct presentation up here on the screen. So I'm going to be going to the agenda, and if we look inside the report, which includes the area structure plan amendment, or rather, which is a replacement of the previous Anderson area structure plan, which is looking at the inclusion for this area to be revised as Plains Landing. This area is looking at having the southern portion as well as the northern portion here, changing from duplex development on the south and some lower density residential development to the north, which has not developed due to market concerns stating that it wasn't considered to be competitive by the previous owner, and has been acquired to undertake for manufactured home development on owned lots by the proponent. With that, they've reviewed the engineering as well as all the requirements and modeling within the town. They've confirmed all the requirements as well as made sure that further lot development and construction, which is planned throughout the future of Edson, is entertained within the future concept and is integrating within the overall framework for land use within the town. With that, we'll note that the upgrades there, we as staff recommend this meets all policy requirements and planning principles. So at this point, we are recommending first reading, and that a first reading or second reading be held with a public hearing at the next council meeting in July 21st. And if that is advisable for council, that they also hold a concurrent public hearing and readings of a bylaw for a land use bylaw, which is subsequent to this on the agenda. If you have any questions, we're open to provide answers.
Okay, and I believe we have Ms. Resick on the line as well, dialed in.
We may as well.
Okay. All right, so we'll open the floor to questions, comments, or concerns. Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, so my understanding this would be correct. We give first reading, and then the second reading, that's when we'd open up to the public so we can get pros and cons for it before we pass it, correct?
Mr. Chairman, through Councillor Chouinard, yes. If you the next meeting would include the public hearing where any members of the public for or against this application could voice their concerns directly. We'll note that we did include the open house comments in the package.
Okay. Great. Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair to administration, just one clarification that it sounds like in our agenda package that the administration is recommending that the Plains Landing structure plan is an improvement over the Anderson area structure plan. And if you do feel that way, can you explain why it's an improvement?
Well, Mr. Chairman, to Councillor Sorensen, one, I guess I can point out on this, if we look at this area right here that's covered up, this was included in the Anderson area structure plan. It's no longer included within the deal for these properties. So given that landowner, I won't name, but has chosen to withdraw from this development concept at this point, even though the future development of those lands would be in accordance with future intentions, the current development could not occur as it was planned under its current phasing. So there will be changes that were required to the Anderson area structure plan as it currently sits in order for it to be developed, simply because of the non-participation of that landowner and some of the complications that leaves with sizing of stormwater plans, everything else, and access to lots. That also said, the findings on the site, which were reconfirmed by the current proponent, is that the water table is in fact a lot higher than was originally anticipated or originally indicated. Those reports have been provided to us. Anytime you have a water table that's substantially higher or close to the surface, you know, anything that's in that range of 1.8 meters from the surface in a wet area time of year to 2.4 meters of the surface in a less wet time of the year, that creates a big problem for sub-grade development. So most homes and most duplexes do have sub-grade development. It then creates an area where you have water issues. We of course have problems throughout town where we have sump pumps continuously running, people not always following our recommendations and tying weekly tile and other things into our sewer systems, and that creates a bigger problem. Whereas something with the manufactured homes, which would be located on piling systems, the concerns that we may have in this area of being marginal land, which could be inundated with flooding, may have stormwater related issues, and of course, there is an indication of high water table. Those issues do not become a problem for that form of development, and therefore, we're happy with the improvements they have made on our requests to the engineering.
All right, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair. I don't know if this would be the appropriate place, but I think it is as we're discussing the structure plan and your open house. In the open house, there was many concerns about things and I'd like to have them addressed. Now, Aaron Stebelik, our assessor, I would like him to speak to us if he could. People felt that their homes would be devalued by having this mobile home park there, and I'd like to know if there's really any facts to that or if it's just hearsay. So if that's possible, whether he could zoom into us or something and tell us what the probability would be of depreciation in the home values of the houses on the other side of 48th Avenue.
And Mr. Chairman, as no point of information, we could definitely do that in time for the public hearing if that was.
Yeah, that would be great.
Right now would be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, of course, we can't do it right now. I'm just asking so that we could be informed. And I have another thing too. There seem to be many people who thought that if you live in a mobile home, you're a thief or there's something wrong with you. So I would really like to see an RCMP report on just what is the correlation between people who own mobile homes on lots compared to people who own their homes on a lot, how much more vandalism or thievery or whatever there is in these areas. I'd really like to base this on fact rather than people's hearsay. So thank you.
See what Erica.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as Martino suggested, I think we'll be happy to at minimum seek some comment from our assessor on your first point,
Thank you.
as well as approaching the RCMP, although I'm not sure they will have data that will specifically answer your request on that. We can certainly ask them.
Thank you, if you
they
would.
have any relevant data that they feel comfortable sharing for these purposes.
Yes, I don't see that there is a correlation with a mobile home and extra law breaking, so I would really like that proven to me before I could vote on this.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Verhage.
Mr. Chair, just so I could ask for clarification, Councilor Wilkinson, are you asking them for a perspective on whether there is a higher incident rate of crime in like a manufactured home park like we see south of this in Creekside and Sunnyside, or are you talking about actually owned lots
Right.
that manufactured homes are placed on like we see over near the hospital and near the
On 6th Avenue, we have a park like that. We have town-owned lots where people have their mobile homes. There seem to be in some of these letters an association between owning a mobile home and being a criminal, and I just don't understand any of that.
Through the administration, I don't think the RCMP would have information about that, but maybe they have some general information about crime stats per neighborhood or something like that. That might help inform what you're looking for, Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Byron.
Through the chair to Mr. Bahagi, is there any reason why we wouldn't, on the top portion of the roadways there, I think it's across from 12th, that we wouldn't have those intersections lining up when we're doing a new development instead of having them kind of offset a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Chairman, at this exact time, I can't remember why there was a reconfiguration on that. However, I think that there was no punch through on the 12th to begin with. I know that if you were to look, I will scale out for council's review here. So, this would have been excellent. Should have that, but I think there's okay. So. Let's see if I can find one that actually has the fall through. However, my understanding is that the desire for the Maury Estates or Creekside area structure plan area, which is located to the west of this, was to have essentially only one major entrance coming off of either 8th or 9th, and then one on 13th, and not coming through here as well. The desire generally, if we see 12th, so I'll at least go to why we didn't consider that. I'm sorry, prepared for that question, but we will go to see what you were just looking at, which is that this road right here, if I'm not mistaken, is only actually connecting to like 5 homes.
6
So
homes.
I don't see where this is not actually a connection issue. This is just simply not creating a further connection. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chouinard?
Just maybe too soon to ask, the public hearing, what would it look like? How would the public access us? What would be, like if they'll be allowed in the room, Zooming, or what would happen? Because if the public hearing, according to the letters and phone calls, there's quite a few people concerned about this. So what would that look like for the public to express their comments that choose not to, let's say, write in, but they want to be physically talking to us through Skype or in person?
Mr. Chairman, I'd have to refer to CEO here.
Go ahead, Kayla.
It will be by Zoom, like we did with the last public hearing. That information will go
And
on.
now, my other question, because I was asked that, so if it's Zoom, is there going to be a limit to the amount of people Zooming?
So they just need to register ahead of time.
So then I would tell them register ahead of time, because there was lots. So if all the people that had concerns, we're going to want 50 people Zooming, in which I guess we owe them that if it is to that number.
Go ahead, Kayla.
That information on how to get registered for the Zoom meeting or to participate will be in all the advertising for that public hearing.
So there's no way to physically bring it. I'm just asking because of this.
So
yeah.
Dr. Hinshaw has made it clear in her last update that council meetings should remain closed.
Correct.
And actually, she has suggested that some councils may want to continue to do meetings virtually. That's the recommendations from the health officers. So now by that time, things may change, but that's what we're working with right now as we set this public hearing date.
So where I'm getting at the point is, let's say people that would be uncomfortable Zooming, would it be fair if we set up a location somewhere else, like a Repsol or something that was manned by the town, that would be under control, that each individual say, I'm saying if 50 people show up and 5 want to speak, but the other people want to be in the room, would we have a capability of spreading them out at Repsol and say, okay, you are part of this meeting, but you're over there and it's a controlled Zoom. And as you people are gathering, spread out according to following the rules. Would that be a possibility for these people that want to Zoom in?
I think this question is suited for Kayla. I'll just answer it. We'll certainly be happy to facilitate the best accessibility to a public hearing as we possibly can. If the current protocols are in place, I think it's important that we understand it will be
Yes.
constrained, limited, and there may be some practicalities that make something like you're describing difficult, and maybe even not functional. I think too, we encounter a certain amount of discomfort for people even who attend public hearings, who have to stand up and speak in front of a group of people.
That's correct.
There is a certain amount of input they have to give if they want to participate.
Right.
And there may be a measure of discomfort they have to go through. We certainly, if they were to call and need some support or guidance in terms of getting on Zoom, we'd be happy to try and educate them or work with them.
Right.
That will probably be more practical than trying to set up a third location or a separate location. And physical distancing is still a problem there. We can't guarantee that we could get everyone in. There could just be all kinds of challenges that exist there. Recognizing, of course, that based on what we know now, there is a high level of public interest in this. Many, if not a vast majority of these people, I think would at least have the minimum capability of accessing through the Zoom function, and we proceed in that direction. But Kayla, anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
They also have the ability to provide written communication, as we have seen
Yes.
throughout. So we have Councillor Sorensen, then Councillor Bevan, then Councillor Byer.
Thank you through the chair to council. I'm not exactly sure why we would have an open house and then ignore the significant feedback we received from it. And as such, I will be voting against this motion due to the overwhelming public opposition to this proposal.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair, I guess, like so long, Councillor Chenard said that if for some reason, a lot of this stuff got lifted in that, when we go back and look at a curling complex out there, we had it in the Legion and that. If it's ever opened up and something like that, can we look at something like that, maybe going to a bigger venue where, you know, people will come in as long as they help people say it's okay and we're all safe or whatever, something like that.
Through the chair, I think, based on the restrictions at the time of the meeting, we will be open to consideration for the best possible ways to facilitate an open and accessible public process. And I think that's something that we would certainly happily consider if the protocols allowed it. Again, there's still some practical limitations there, but we're open to the concept.
Go ahead.
Just a point of information, though not traditional because of efficiencies. Technically speaking, the act requires that a public hearing occur. There are certain requirements for the public hearing, with council being present and so on, and recording. But the public hearing does not necessarily need to be in council chambers. It could definitely be an alternative venue. It could definitely be on a different day than the second and third reading being considered. Second and third reading must be considered following that public hearing. And everyone voting on it must be present at the public hearing.
Thank you. Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to administration, Councillor Wilkinson touched on some points that I think most of us have been probably hearing, as well as what's included in the package. One that hasn't been brought up is the lack of maintenance on the mobile home exteriors or perhaps their property. Are you able to just reiterate what our bylaw says about more nicely done homes and which ones that are maybe unsightly, and what our bylaw is doing with the unsightly properties? Because I know this doesn't just apply to mobile homes. There are single family homes and duplexes and every type of house out there, I think, in town that has unsightliness to their property. If that is a big concern, can we maybe get some feedback on that, what our bylaw is doing or able to do?
Go ahead, Stuart.
If Mr. Verhage has anything to add there. So one of the distinct differences that we encounter is when we have what is typically referred to as a mobile home park, or a large parcel with many mobile home lots, but it's all contained by one owner. We have a lot of limitations as to what we can do inside of that existing property, or we have a lot less flexibility with how we might address that. It's really only how it appears externally to its neighboring properties. And often the fencing is pretty good. There's less visibility, but inside a mobile home park, if the conditions become dilapidated, that we have less influence there. In a condition of the types of lots being proposed here, where the lots would be owned by each individual homeowner and resident, it would be the same parameters under any dwelling or property or home, where we do have expectations of a certain level of maintenance being upheld, and then we also have the same mechanisms in place to enforce should there become issues. Martino, anything to add to that?
The only thing I'd add to that is that maintenance on single owned property lots tends to be, one, much more simple for us than a process perspective, as well as the ability to remedy, and two, reported more often than manufactured home parks, because generally people look at that and it's almost like a school of fish. They end up being protected because they end up having a certain cosmetic appearance for that neighborhood. Whereas if you have a single poor home within most residential areas where people have individually owned properties, broken windows, scenario basically sets out that someone's going to complain, and then if we act immediately, then it tends to continue to be a more beautified neighborhood, which with less nuisance. But when that's a communal group, such as you'll see within a manufacturing park or something else, it becomes much more complicated for us as an enforcement agency. People tend not to report it as much either.
Councillor Chenard.
The question I'm going to ask, if we delayed it, it's already into June, because with the amount of interest, if we can delay it, like even this decision, so if this passes tonight, I would like to delay the public hearing with the coronavirus, so within 2 weeks, and I'd like to, because of the interest, if we can delay it and have something like we did at the Legion and area, because I would really like the public to be able to attend, rather they want to speak or not, it's the volume. So if we have a public hearing and we have it at the Legion, for an example, and we fill the room up and there's 300 people there, and that tells us something.
The motion on the table right now is for a public hearing on July 21st. So if this motion passes, that's when it's going to be. If it's defeated, you can.
Sorry, just ask. I
okay.
think Martina would suggest there is a limitation too in terms of time from when the first reading passes to when the public hearing has to take place. Martina?
Yeah, at minimum, I would suggest the public hearing not occur until,
Or the latest.
really, I would say the week of the 13th to the 17th is the ideal week
Of July?
of July.
Okay.
What's the longest it could wait after first reading, or is there a limitation?
No, they're like 2 years.
Okay, so that is an option. I just want.
So the public hearing can be up to 2 years from this date or no?
But it has to proceed between first and last reading of the bylaw, no more than 2 years may elapse.
So if we pass, so my question is like that, if we passed it tonight, when would the public hearing have to be?
2 years.
Oh, so up to 2 years. So we could pass it tonight. So if all of a sudden we're saying, hey, you know what, September is a good date to gather.
Yes, Councilor Chenard, you have that option.
Okay.
You would, my recommendation would be though, that if you were then setting your second and third reading, I would table second and third reading sine die. So until such time as the condition's been established where we can bring it back, it should be after the public hearing.
Okay, so then
We have a motion on the floor for July 21st. If council wishes to defeat that motion, make a new motion with a different date, then that's the will of council. Councilor Curry.
Through the chair to council, I'm feeling along the same lines as Councillor Sorensen in the sense of the purpose of the public hearing is to get obviously public feedback. But I think in our package, it is very clear how much public feedback was already given. So I do question that process of, is that not already, has that not already been done to a point with how much feedback, and just knowing how we typically do not hear from the public on most of our public hearing, this is a substantial amount of feedback that we've already heard. So
Through to administration, so what is the regular procedure in terms of giving first reading or defeating a first reading on something like this? What are the legalities around that? I know there's specific legal ramifications in terms of public hearing processes.
Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that the obligation of council during any planning related bylaw hearing is that you are unfettered in being able to make your discretion of your decision. So you may fail to pass first reading, that effectively leaves it if nothing else comes forward. Or you can vote to refuse first reading. If you approved first reading, you did the public hearing, and then you decided that you didn't want to deal with it, you could repeal first reading and let it die on the books as that as well. But you have no restriction in the strict decision.
Okay, so council, if it so chooses, could actually defeat first reading?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, truly it was an open house where council wasn't present, is what's being held, right? And that's what we have the input back on. And that's why I was asking for clarification on it, because as I say, I'm not sure about the assessment. I'm not sure about the crime rate. And much of the correspondence that we received had those two issues in them. So whether it's based on fact or just hearsay, I don't know. So I personally feel that as a council, we need to have the proper public hearing after we pass this. So that's just, we weren't at the open house. I'd like to be present.
Councilor Barr.
Through the chair to council, I have some similar concerns as Councilor Wilkinson, that we weren't present at that open house that was for the developer's interest, not necessarily, I felt, for our interest. We just now have received some information on that. I certainly have concerns about, some of the things we talked about tonight. But I feel that as a developer that's put out a lot of money, and when we're asking for development in our community, and that we get to hear their side of the story on this matter, and I believe that would be something that we would hear at the public hearing. Would we not hear the developer side? Yes, okay. As well as the proper procedures with having it in the paper and allowing the right time frame for people to get that feedback to us in case, you know, they didn't go attend the open house and weren't aware of it or didn't read the paper or whatever the scenario may have been, that this would allow for that proper process to occur. So I feel that public hearing is necessary for that, even though we have received a large amount of feedback on this already.
All right, thank you. I haven't provided my comments yet, so I think we need to proceed with first reading and set the public hearing date. I'm not in favor of delaying it. We need to get on with business, provide some certainty to the developer, the community. There are ways for people to provide their feedback, either written responses or through Zoom. If restrictions are lifted, then certainly open to other methods as well. But we have already received a fair amount of comment, but it's important, I think, that happens in a public hearing format to make sure that the developer has the opportunity to present his side. And I echo what has been said here today in regards to that. I will not support delaying this. I think that July 21st will provide some certainty for everybody involved, and then council can make its decisions following that. So Councillor Chenard, do you have anything you need to add?
No, that's my thing is I'm in favor of development, but I'm not in favor of the date. So if I could get the date changed, because it is a huge, you know, we've had a lot of feedback. So I would like to see public hearing, and I agree. I want to have something in a venue for and against. So if the developer's right, there's a lots for, and the residents are against what we're reading. So I'd like to have a public hearing where everyone had a fair chance to disclose their argument for or against.
All right, thank you, Councillor Chenard. Your point's been made. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council give first reading to bylaw number 2248 to amend land use bylaw number 2070 by redesignating the lands identified in Schedule A from low density multiple family residential to mobile home subdivision, and to set the public hearing for July 21st during the regular scheduled council meeting for the town of Edson. Somebody want to make that motion? Councillor Byron will make that motion. This is connected to our previous motion. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair to council, I'll just be voting against this matter. I believe the open house was clear in its opposition, and yeah, so I'll be voting against it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chenard.
I'll be voting against, same reason as last time for the date.
Councillor Curry.
Through the chair to council, I will, like the last one, vote for this, because I do agree with what Councillor Byer and Councillor Wilkinson had said. In all fairness, that public hearing was not done by the town. It had no association with us, and it was a private public hearing that we were not a part of. And I do think for due process for the developer, it is only fair that we get to hear the developer side of that and hear the whole everything.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Repeater. Yeah.
I was just wanting to clarify that council would want them to have these public hearings held concurrently, so that you should
Yes.
spoken by what's.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Barr.
As echoing what Councillor Curry said and what I said in the past bylaw, I will vote for this for those reasons, to allow the proper process to occur.
All right, thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Okay, just through the chair to Councillor Chenard, is that a personal conflict date, or it's just that you want a different type of date?
Just to answer the question is I can't, because of what's going on. If we could guarantee we could have a public one, but
It is public though.
No, but I mean public to Zoom. I mean public. I don't want people zooming in, because
Okay,
some people,
yeah,
that's what I'm
I
against,
can't
is
control
zooming
that,
in.
sorry, I will be
Yes.
supporting this motion. Yeah.
Yes.
Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair to administration. So my question is, why would the public go to an open house in the future if this council is gonna ignore those findings?
Would you like me to speak to that?
I mean,
So I'd like to speak to that. So we recommended to the developer to have the open house to hear the feedback, so he can hear what had to be said and maybe adapt his plan before he came to council. And that was the reason for it. It was for the developer to gauge interest before he went through a whole big process of a public hearing, land use changes, when the costs associated with that. And the developer did do that, and now it's in our court to do our process. It was really a preemptive way for him to get that feedback to develop the program that he wants to based on that feedback.
Can I follow up?
Go ahead.
Through the chair to administration, what significant changes were done as a result of the open house comments? What changes to the plan happened?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I suppose the things that would have changed differently were from the previous plan would have been that if phase 2 was included, which showed the final form of the development, so that it was clear what was actually going to be done with the entire thing, not just the first phase. There's some questions about what actually would occur. We aligned we checked to make sure that the stormwater pond as well as the groundwater, so they did reconfirm a lot of the engineering based on the concerns that were put forward by residents who stated concerns about whether there was wetlands, high water table, drainage related issues and so on. And so a variety of work was actually undertaken on that. That took over most of the time for the delay for this. Some comments that people provided were not going to be necessarily something that could be accepted by the developer given his proposal, which was that they said they didn't want to have that land use. Well, that becomes a conflict point that unfortunately the developer could not see fit to find some other method around, since the purpose of this amendment was to change the proposed land use. But from an open house perspective, quite often you'll see changes to public spaces, types of land uses that are included in a more robust or larger area. So there is value, I think, in an open house. I'm a proud proponent of that public engagement process.
I think I would add to that, at minimum, the developer has moved forward well aware of the public opposition concerns as well, and so they've now assumed the risks that come along with proceeding with the development when there is a significant concerns from adjacent or nearby landowners, and so that also offers some clarity as far as just knowing the lay of the land, even if it didn't appear to be favorable. At least the developer has gone into that with the awareness.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Can I just ask for clarification?
Go ahead,
question?
Councilor Wilkinson.
In that development, did we set a limit as to how old the trailers could be that were put into that?
My understanding is yes. Unfortunately, it just closed the plan. My understanding is that the developer was restricting it to 20 years. The town of Edson has chosen not to have a limitation on that anywhere in its land use bylaw. So it's not something that the town necessarily would be managing unless the council were to start doing so. As information on that, the county sets a limit of 10 years. 20 years at least, though, is considered to be satisfactory from a building codes perspective, because anything older than 1992 doesn't have the appropriate 8277 rating, which means that it's capable of being placed and then moved to a different place. So that did satisfy our requirements from a public safety perspective.
And one other question, clarification, people felt that their taxes would go up because they'd be paying for the utilities being put into that area. Can you just explain?
All costs associated with the development of that property would be the cost and responsibility of the developer.
Of the developer.
Yeah.
Right, and in some of the letters, they assumed it would be their tax.
The town will assume no costs.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please? The town council approve a notice of decision as per the attachment for a new accessory building, garage, and 2 existing accessory building sheds for the lands legally described as Plan 962, 4000, Block 2, Lot 11. Councilor Bevan will make that motion, and we will hand this over to Ms. Rezick, I'm assuming.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Council. So as you know, this is a request for decision on a development in a direct control district. And if you should be familiar with the area, it's the Grand Prairie Trail neighborhood, located in the north west section of Edson on 17th Ave. So pretty much what's happening is we received an application, planning has received an application for developing a new garage and moving 2 accessory buildings onto the property. So this is one of the accessory buildings that is already existing that will be relocated well away from the existing property boundaries. And the new garage would be, if you can see where my cursor is, the proposed detached garage or accessory building is going to be right here. So it does align with the municipal development plan. There is a future ARP. It's not done yet, but the municipal development plan has intended for that ARP once more development happens. So it is recommended that town council approve the notice of decision for development permit 032-2020 for the 3 accessory buildings, as planning is in support of this development. Thank you.
All right, any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to administration, is there any reason why this direct control property wouldn't get moved to a residential zoning? So,
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
sorry, Lisa, I realized you were in the room. Is there any reason why this property wouldn't get rezoned to a residential zoning instead of a direct control?
I don't see any reason why it couldn't be passed through with the land use bylaw amendment. This area was annexed in 1984. And since then, council had decided at the time to have it for direct control. There's no services that the town, or there's no town services that go to these lots. But if the developer or landowner would like to put that application in, right now I don't see really any planning, anything that would, at the moment anyway, anything that would not allow the land use to change to a residential property. If you see, hold on. I bring up Muni site here, or web map, sorry. Can everybody see my web map?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so as it stands right now, these are all direct control properties, and the nearest properties that are zoned other than direct control are these ones here in blue that are estate residential large lots. So they could possibly be changed to that zone as well. There's potential.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I would just add to this. I'm not even sure, honestly, if Lisa would be familiar with this. Several years ago, the planning department, prior to any of our current staff, had began a process whereby they were starting to go through and evaluate direct control and recommend appropriate changes associated with that. I know that this was on the list. It was one of those projects that was just kind of there, and they would work on it as they got to it. This was a little bit down the priority list, as there was other areas that were a little bit more pressing. So I would just reinforce what Lisa shared, where there's no practical considerations why it couldn't be considered to be zoned for the appropriate zoning rather than direct control, and something that is in our the back of our minds administratively to clear up as many of those as we can.
Mr. Verhage, you have anything you'd add?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, the other thing I'd confirm is that our municipal development plan does within this area and for this property show it as general residential. So there's no reason why it could not be placed in a residential district in the future redesignation for land use bylaw.
All right, thank you, Councillor Chenard.
So the only reason it's in front of us is because it's direct controlled.
That's correct.
That's correct, yeah.
I don't have a problem with
That's
that.
All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council amend Schedule A, Appendix C of the Fees, Rates, and Charges Bylaw number 2214 as presented?
There's the landfill one.
Yes.
I don't.
Declare
Okay.
a conflict.
Councillor Sorensen will make that motion, and Councillor Chenard has declared a conflict of interest, and we'll hand things over to administration. You'd like to speak to this?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of council, note that I'll see if I can share my screen so we have it in front of us. There it is. So the change is as simple as moving the construction demolition material costs within the town, outside of the town, to be $30 per ton. The cost outside the town is currently $30 per ton, which is a very reasonable rate with regards to regional pricing. Within the town, it was $10 per ton. We'll note that that is something we sought to align with our municipal partners in the landfill, such as Yellowhead County.
I'll just add to that. In fact, this was an oversight of some principles that are contained in both the revenuing and cost sharing agreements that our regional partners, Yellowhead County, would pay the same rates as town residents. And this was just recently something that was caught in our attention, in part as Yellowhead County was deciding to charge their residents. And we just immediately moved to correct this. You may be naturally inquiring as to why we're going up from 10 to 30 for the town residents versus down from 30 to 10. The truth is that even 30 is far below what the fee probably needs to be in terms of appropriate cost recovery. And so knowing that we will in the not too distant future be coming to council with a higher level rate review that will recommend more significant consideration of rate adjustments there, we felt it was more appropriate to move in that direction rather than to go the other way. I don't want to speak too much about this, partly because I don't have all the information, but Mr. Ham is preparing a report that I believe the comparators, many of them are in the $90 per ton range. So $10 per ton, quite frankly, is not tenable. And this won't be the last you hear about, but this is more to address the equality of town and county users. There will be a larger scale rate review coming for council consideration in the future.
I know my data, just as a point of information, my data is a little bit dated to about a year ago. However, over a year ago, we were cheap enough that it was actually worth trucking waste from Athabasca during demolition to land in our landfill, which is significant trucking, showing the significant savings in tipping fees.
It's $100 in Lakeport. So for council's clarity, Councillor Curry and then Councillor Wilkinson.
Good.
You're good, Councillor Wilkinson.
I can only support this on the condition that we are going to up that rate. I think it's just far too reasonable. And I can see where you want to put it in slowly, but I really do feel we have to get it a bit more.
And again, thank you. Our very initial concern is the being good partners with Yellowhead County and meeting our obligations to have the rates the same. But we intend to bring this forward very, very soon for consideration.
Councillor Barr.
Through the chair to administration. So if we pass this tonight, then the new tonnage fee is here. And then if you bring forward another report in the near future to increase that, then does this then control what the county residents pay as well, or does then the county have to pass a new bylaw or something? No. So that will.
They go as per our fee schedule. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And sorry.
Go ahead.
So then the footnote, the note, asterisk note at the bottom, is that what that is reflecting, or is that still required?
Yeah, that is reflecting that agreement.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? When I first read this in the package, I was very concerned, and then I did some research looking at rates, and I'm like, wow, we are way off the mark here. And I would certainly, when that report comes, I want to see how that ties into the West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Plan, and the studies have been done. I think we need to make sure that we're conformed with what's going on in Hinton as well. So I know Yellowhead County is currently doing a lot of work around that, and we need to make sure that we're aligned. So certainly supportive of administration taking those steps. Councillor Curry.
Just through the chair, I'm also in support of this, because of the comparables that I've heard of and know that you're coming with more, but I also think currently with what has happened with our landfill and knowing that our operating costs are substantially higher, and we are trucking our own out. So I think it's safe to say at this tonnage, we are losing quite a bit through this.
Just as two notes, one is that Council will be pleased to know that construction on the new landfill site is completed, and we are anticipating opening that as soon as this week. Obviously, for the public and users to please stay tuned for the formal announcement, but that is coming in the next days. And just add to what Mr. Hagee shared about people coming from as far away as Athabasca, I can confirm that, and you'll hear this more about this in the reports, is that we have regular visitors from Grand Prairie that come to dump their waste here because of the competitive fees. And you suggested reasonability. I would suggest that these are very unreasonable rates, just unfortunately in the favor of the users rather than the operator. It's just not an area that we have kept in line with our principles of utilities being cost recovery, and that is the principle council will soon see presented.
That's certainly good news. CO Dercott, I just, can you communicate to Weyerhaeuser? I know that they have significant costs associated with their trucking of waste right now, so I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that we're reopening. Thank you. Any other further questions, comments, or concerns? And these fees will go into effect immediately. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried.
Just need to grab Mr. Chouinard.
Can I get a motion, please, that council appoint Tricia Papke as the designated clerk for the West Yellowhead Regional Assessment Review Board for one-year term starting June 16th, 2020. Councillor Bevan will make that motion. And we have Mr. Passy with us to walk us through this.
Yes, thank you. It's pretty self-explanatory here in the memo. We're a member of a regional assessment review board with Hinton and Jasper. It was another municipality's turn this year. Their staff left their organization, and the other person was there last year, so it's kind of turned around to be our turn again this year. This is just a formality to appoint Tricia as the designated clerk for that assessment review board.
All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor, motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council appoint Julia Darling as development officer for the town of Edson in accordance with section 9 of the land use bylaw 2070. Mr. Verhage. Oh, let's take the motion first for Councillor Chouinard. And go ahead, Mr. Verhage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. As you know, we've had some people within our department who have come in, such as our recent intern, as well as some people who are leaving due to family-related matters within the bulk of our work. So as such, we have given a promotion, in-house promotion for 1 year to our administrative assistant, Julia Darling, who has a variety of background within business administration, as well as I can't remember, NACLA 1 and 2, and so has a depth in municipal background. With that, she's also got a planning background, which she's developed with us over the past year. And I'd like to introduce her for your knowledge, as well as appointment to be able to approve development over the next year.
Very nice. Welcome.
She's already wearing the power suit.
We like that. We like that. Yeah.
Welcome, Julia.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. We have no information items, no sundry items, council committee reports. We are going to go back to May the 20th. And who should I ask first? Councillor Chouinard.
I'll go first because mine was easy. On June 2nd and 3rd, we did our strategic planning, and I think that's all I was allowed to. The rest is canceled.
All right. Councillor Curry.
We already, can you come back to me?
Sure. Councillor Bevan.
What do we got here? 26th, we had a call meeting. 28th, we had a West Yellowhead Community Futures meeting. On the 4th, we had an IRC. On the 11th, we had an IRC. At our Community Futures and our IRC meeting, we talked about the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. That is $40,000 that is out to the small business people that can sign up for it and that. We've been having updates every Wednesday here for the IRC and that. As of the 11th of June here, they've had 36 applications. 17 of them have been confirmed. 3 have been declined, and 6 are still in the application stage. Of the 36 applications, the breakdown is Jasper has 11, Hinton has 8, Edson has 6, Grand Cache has 3, the Yellowhead County has 7, and outside of the West Yellowhead is 1. Now, this is a maximum of 40,000. 0% interest until December 31st of 2020. No principal payment until December 31st of 2020. 25% up to a maximum of 10,000, and loan forgiveness is available, provided the outstanding balance is paid back by the end of December 31st of 2020. They still have more in the hopper here and that, and we have been meeting via Zoom or conference and that at least once a week here, because there's lots of people being, the applications are coming in. They're doing a very good job up there. They are swamped in that. And we've got another one here coming up, I think this Thursday or something like that too. And there's other stuff is going on with that, but I will pass it off.
One quick clarification.
Go ahead.
Is that 40,000 per business or 40,000 pool?
$40,000 per business.
Okay.
Million dollar pool.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, they got a number that,
So they got over $1
They
million
have-
pool, okay.
I can't say they got a number that they have to go to, and they will not go over that number.
But it's 40,000.
So
per
it's
business.
$40,000 per
Thank you.
business. And that's for people that can't get the serve or whatever you want to call it in that too.
Okay.
And there have been people trying to get both. And when they checked them out, they said, no, sorry, you're declined, or you just can't come in and have it because I think it might, you know. So they do a lot of legwork on this. That's a lot of time consuming for them, for the RC, and that's really a lot of time consuming.
Okay, thank you.
It's working well.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Bevan, and you're going to have to wait now, Councillor Curry, till the end. Councillor Byer.
Okay, thank you. So on May 20th, I had an Edson Library Board meeting via Zoom, and had lots of COVID-related discussions. We've, as administration mentioned during COVID, that they were completely submersed in it, and that's generally where our discussions have been as well. And then on June 2nd, I had a library relaunch committee meeting, and we met our new librarian. Michael Barrett is our librarian, and hopefully one day we'll be able to introduce him to you. There we worked on the opening of the curbside pickup is now available. We had lots of new people that were, lots of people that were taking advantage of the curbside pickup on the first day. So that is seems to be going well, and we're working on what our opening date would be, but we don't have a date at this time confirmed. So.
Thank you, Councillor Byer.
And then June 3rd and 4th, the strategic planning session.
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Right, on May 26th, I had a committee of the whole meeting. On May 27th, I had a West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Authority meeting. And I apologize, I don't have my notes with me, but one of the more significant resolutions out of that group was to accept out of region waste. In the past, it was kind of ad hoc and up to the discretion of the attendant that day. And so now it's official, we will accept out of region waste. And this was brought to our attention specifically for the Trans Mountain Pipeline Project, which has significant waste all the way into Valemont area. And now that waste can come to our landfill at a good rate for our regional owners. June 3rd and 4th, I had the strategic planning session, and June 10th, there was a Chamber of Commerce meeting. It was an in-person meeting, so only executive and directors were invited.
All right, thank you. Two hips. Councillor Wilkinson.
On May 24th, I also went to the West Yellowhead Regional Waste Management Zoom meeting, which was good. And I think we're very fortunate to get the revenue from that extra waste that we're getting. On June 1st, I had a meeting with Youth Council. Thank you to Councillor Byer for letting me go. I really enjoy seeing those kids. June 2nd and 4th, strategic planning. June 10th, Evergreen meeting. And it is probably, the building's going to be turned over then probably the next 10 days. And being that we're on YouTube, I'd like to announce there is security in the building. And there will be security staying in the building until the residents move in. And what we're waiting on there, we were hoping that the Minister of Health, or Dina Henshaw, actually would tell us what date we could move. We haven't got that far. We have to put a plan in, and our local health board or whoever needs to tell us will tell us when it's safe. I hope it's soon because it looks lovely. I think the residents will really enjoy it
Absolutely. Councillor Curry.
There we go. May 27th, I had a subdivision and development appeal meeting. And then May 28th, I was also at the Community Futures Board of Directors, and Councilor Bevan, I think pretty much said everything. Other than the fact that they did do, every year they do reporting to WD, one of their main funders. And it was exciting to see that even with all the changes, they did a really good job of meeting a lot of their indicators and the goals. So it was a lot better to see and than what was expected. So that was really great. But like Councillor Bevan said, there is lots going on and they are very busy. So we're very appreciative for all that they're doing. June 1st, I had another subdivision appeal meeting, and then June 3rd to 4th, strategic planning.
Okay, question through to Councillor Curry or Councillor Bevan. Did you guys approve discussion about possibly partnering with the town of Edson on some COVID projects?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I allowed to share?
I wouldn't share it yet because still has to come for council resolution.
Okay, that's
for
why I
funding,
didn't.
But
Yes.
okay.
Yes, there was some COVID conversations about things that we will would like to support and help out with additional funding. So to add context to that, Community Futures was given extra funds to help support operating, which usually they don't. So there was the loan funds that were offered, but they were also offered an additional, I think it was 70,000 for the year to support operations, knowing that COVID has put a lot onto them. And as Councilor Irvin said, they have been nonstop busy. So yes, and they have approved some ideas, and that will come to council on how to support COVID within it.
All right, perfect.
Two more community future. So I take it your lemonade stands and your tours have all been canceled or
Canceled
postponed?
as of right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lemonade stand is lemonade day.
Lemonade day, but it's the stand.
It's completely canceled for this year
And your
because it was
farm
supposed to be in
tours as
June.
well?
Farm
Yeah,
tours
and
also
yeah,
is-
farm tours is canceled.
I have to say that our
Sad.
community futures here in the West Elwood, they do a lot better job than some of the other community futures are doing. They're kind of the leading edge of it, and people are looking to them to see what they're doing. With Nancy, our general manager there, she is tough, but she is fair, and she goes after them, and she gets good results with her and Tim and her staff and that. And most of them are still working from home. They come in every now and then, but they are getting burned out just about too, because they're getting lots and lots of people from all over the place asking questions. So they do a fantastic job.
And can I sort of just add to that, they so they won't be doing any of those programmings, but they're still doing a lot of their OH&S stuff and that training, and they're still doing online Zoom training, and they've actually been quite busy with that and having different businesses contacting them. So in different rounds, Jax, who is often with the communications and stuff, has been off in that end, and then with the OH&S and businesses needing help on how to meet the parameters, especially all the new health standards. So yeah, they've been happy with those too.
Thank you. Thank you. On May 20th, I had a town hall with Minister Madhu about COVID-19. He said that funding for municipalities would be imminent. And here we are a month later. It's a little frustrating because we pretty much are missing the entire construction season. So hopefully there will be something coming soon in terms of infrastructure stimulus regarding COVID-19. As council is aware, the communities where we have submitted a major list. I understand that they are actually working an agreement out with the federal government. So we continually await and ask the question when, because it's been hearing imminent for 2 months now. Committee of the Whole on May 26th. We had the Youth Council meeting on June 1st. A number of our youth counselors are actually graduating this year, which is great to see. It's been a little difficult for them with social distancing and meeting in Zoom. Part of Youth Council too is doing a youth event, leadership event. Last year, because of the short time frame, we were unable to do one. This Youth Council is getting shortchanged again because of COVID, because we can't have group gatherings. But we have, I believe it was Councillor Wilkinson made the recommendation of bringing in
Yes, speaker.
I guess
Christina
speaker.
Seidel.
Yeah, Christina Seidel, because Youth Council is very interested in environmental issues, and she has said that she will attend the next youth council meeting and be a guest speaker. We've also invited MLA Long and the Minister of Environment as well to speak to our youth council. So hopefully we will be successful in that. And then June 2nd and 3rd, strategic planning here in Edson. I just want to give kudos to administration and council for a really good session this year. It was under different circumstances, but I thought we got a lot accomplished, and we'll see some of the results of that coming forward to future council meetings. We have no financial questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting. Ms. Sedork, have we received anything? No, we have not. If you do have any questions regarding items from this council meeting, you can email civiccentre@edson.ca. I will take a motion to go in camera for a third-party financial business matter and a personnel matter. Councillor Curry will make that motion. All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, can I get a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Chenard, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Okay, I'm gonna throw you